was clearly a revolutionary, and I think that his biggest contribution to the field of psychology has been the fact that he put the emphasis on the present, not the past, and he really focused on helping people identify what they're thinking that created their feeling, which is revolutionary. It was, total demarcation from, psychoanalysis. The most important thing I learned from him professionally was the wide application of REBT. And I've kind of chosen my niche as children and adolescents, and had some good long conversations with him about the power of prevention. And so I really learned a lot from him in terms of how applicable this was to children and adolescents, and how important it was to try. We haven't succeeded yet, I don't think, but to get REBT taught in schools, so that kids have a kind of an emotional muscle. As far as personally, when I would go in for board meetings, I would stay in his apartment with Janet and Al, and so I think I learned a lot about his personal life and just some of his quirky behaviors, and the difference between his public persona and his personal persona. And he would come upstairs at 10 o'clock at night after having worked since 9 o'clock in the morning, fix himself a sandwich and chat with us, and listen to his classical music. And I guess I was just impressed with how different he could be when he was performing, and how different he could be personable and empathic and interested in you when he was not on stage. I think the future is very bright for two reasons. One, Dan David and his colleagues in Romania are doing a lot of excellent research, and so there's really good evidence now to support the efficacy of REBT, and that was something that was always lacking, because a lot of the people that did REBT were clinicians. So even though Al recognized that as a weakness, we didn't really have the avenues to explore like we do now. The second thing is the theory is evolving. It's still at its core the ABCs, but Al sometimes, because of his harsh, brash nature, his public persona, some people were turned off to REBT. And I mean, we all know that that's happened over the years. People will just say, "Oh, I can't do it like he did. I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to be outrageous. I'm not going to be confrontive. I'm not going to be directive. That just doesn't work for me." And so now, I think people thought that as soon as Al died, REBT would be dead, and it's actually very much alive. There's more emphasis on empathy. There's more emphasis on developing the relationship. There's less emphasis on attacking irrational beliefs, but instead, collaborating with clients so that they can begin to see why their thinking is faulty. So I think that we're making I think these changes are really good, and I think that as REBT evolves, I think it'll, it's already very popular around the world, and I think it'll be even more popular because it's much more, I'll say humanistic. It's always been humanistic, but it's much more, I think, the therapeutic style is much more empathic. We're really working with the client to motivate them to see how important it is to change. So I think that the future's good. Well, we do call the journal our rational, emotive, and cognitive behavior therapy. But what distinguishes us, I believe, is the strong focus on the core irrational beliefs and the evaluations of the belief, and I think that we'll always retain that. There was a journal article years ago where 10 or 12 of us who were on the International Training Standards Committee were asked what was the future of REBT. And there was some speculation about how it would just be kind of, melded into CBT, but I don't think that's true. I think we have a real distinct place at the table, and I think it'll stay that way. Well, when I first went to New York to be trained in REBT, it was a 5-day training. And so it was Al, and it was Janet Wolf, and it was Richard Wessler, and I'm not sure, Bill Golden, and the 5th person was Virginia Waters. And she had a training, very similar background to mine, in humanistic psychotherapy, Gestalt, Carl Rogers, client-centered, and then she came on and did this wonderful presentation on applications with children and adolescents, and immediately she became my role model and my mentor. And I just immediately saw, I was doing emotional education in schools, and I immediately saw how much more profound it could be if kids who have very little control over their lives, the events in their lives, because adults make decisions for them, how powerful it could be if they could change their thoughts about it, even if they couldn't change the situation. So my first foray into REBT was in a school where I applied it with kids, mainly in classrooms. And as a result of that, I wrote a program called Thinking, Feeling, Behaving, and the Passport program. And my goal was to really emphasize the prevention aspect, because with kids that's so powerful, because we can teach them skills that they can use throughout their lifetime. And I've seen it done. I've done it with my own son. I've done it with my grandchildren. As early as age 3, they can begin to learn rational concepts. So it's so powerful. And so now my current focus is really integrating the creative arts and developmental psychology and REBT. So Catalina and I just finished this training in which we both presented lots of very concrete interventions that make sense to kids, and actually they're good to use with adults too, but really hands-on, creative, kind of out-of-the-box techniques that we believe work to help kids think differently, and therefore they're going to feel better, and they're going to behave differently. It goes in spurts in the United States. And school counselors have, they have an ideal audience, because they do classroom guidance. And so some school counselors do pure REBT programs. A lot of them, incorporate a lot of different things. So they might use REBT, but they might use some brief solution-focused therapy or reality therapy. There are efforts in South America. I've spoken to a couple of schools when I've been in Colombia. But the biggest effort right now is in India, where the REBT training center there is implementing, and I was involved in helping train the trainers, implementing a social emotional education program of 4,300 students throughout Mumbai. So I'm just hoping that really takes off, because I've seen some of the work products that those kids have done, and it's amazing. In a culture where they're not really encouraged to talk about feelings, you see them draw these posters about feelings and making good decisions. It's amazing. It's a powerful, powerful tool. And I think it would prevent a lot of problems from arising if all kids grew up with this emotional, social, behavioral background. Well, through the affiliated training centers, like yours, we do such thorough training, and I don't know of any other training center that would do so many hours of supervision as we do in REBT. So it's not just that they're learning theory, but they're really learning practice. And everybody who goes through our training says this is the best training because we have so much practice. And that's the key to it, because you can learn the concepts, but they're going to go in your ear and out the other ear unless you really know how to apply them first to yourself. And that's, again, the beauty of this training, is that we have people work on their own problems. So they're working on real issues, and they learn the model, and so they're hearing it, they're learning it, they're doing it. And so it's so comprehensive that I think that it's outstanding. And I mean, in all the trainings that I've been involved in for many, many years, the feedback is always excellent. It's like, this is such high quality training. It's intense, but it's high quality, and I really learned a lot. So